Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage the president of the USTFCCCA, Damon Martin.
First of all, was that not the most wonderful meal that you've had in a long time? What a wonderful meal. I would like to get the JW Marriott staff a great round for that one. Thank you. Well, here we are tonight, about to embark on a great journey. I really believe that this event that we host is probably one of the greatest things that you could achieve in our coaching profession. It's an exceptional program of legendary coaches that will be honored tonight, and it's the highest honor they can receive is to go into the Hall of Fame. And so I'm excited that you can share with us in celebrating their accomplishments. I'm happy to mention that we have several Hall of Fame members here tonight with us in attendance, and I'd like for them to stand and remain standing until everybody has been called, and then I would like to give them a round. Please stand when I call your name. Here are the tonight: Kenneth Gibson, Dick Booth, Victor Lopez, Cyrus Jones, Terry Crawford, Vin Lanana, Gary Wilson, Billy Maxwell, Chris Damont, Lance Harder, Curtis Fry, Doug Watts, Clyde Hart, Brooks Johnson, Pat Henry, and George Williams, and I believe Jeanette Bolden. Let's please give them a round. Welcome back. Started in 1995, the U.S. Track and Field Cross Country Coaches Association Hall of Fame exists to recognize coaches who have brought great distinction to themselves, to their institutions, and to the sports of cross country and track and field. Each of these honorees exemplifies the qualities of dedication to the sport, leadership and passion for their professions that serve as the inspiration for coaches everywhere in every sport. Let's take a look back at the career of our first inductee, Terry Franson.
Long ago, Terry Franson dedicated his career to helping young people grow into adults, whether it was through the rigors of athletics, academics, or student life. 5 years after he wrapped up his career as an All-American hammer thrower at NCAA Division II Chico State in 1973, Franson embarked on a storied coaching career at Azusa Pacific University. He spent 3 years as an assistant before taking over the reins himself in 1982. That was the start of a legendary run. After the Cougar men finished runner-up at the 1982 NAIA Outdoor Track and Field Championships, Franson was named NAIA Coach of the Year for the first of a staggering 10 times in his career. During his next 13 years, Azusa Pacific dominated the NAIA. Franson led the Cougar men to 11 team titles in that span, including 7 in a row from 1983 to 1989. To this day, no NAIA team in history has won more than 5 in a row. 2 athletes in particular helped fuel the Cougars into a fearsome squad in the 80s: Innocent Egbenike and Christian Okoye. Egbenike, a sprinter, joined the program in 1981, and Okoye, a thrower, enrolled the following year. Egbenike and Okoye combined for 12 individual national titles in the span of 5 years. Egbenike only lost once in a championship meet, while Okoye won 4 discus crowns in a row and added another title in his coach's specialty, that hammer throw, in 1984. The duo's success was not limited to the collegiate level. Egbenike won a bronze medal at the '84 Los Angeles Olympics as part of Nigeria's 4x100 relay team, and Okoye, known better as the Nigerian Nightmare, played in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs from 1987 to 1992 and scored 40 touchdowns. Another of Franson's pupils, Dave Johnson, earned a bronze medal in the decathlon at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. Johnson graduated from APU in 1986 and formed a dangerous 1-2 punch in the decathlon with Doug Loisel during his collegiate years. When Franson stepped down as head coach to focus more on his duties as athletic director in 1995, he had mentored an astonishing 125 All-Americans and 39 national champions. Franson currently serves as the Senior Vice President of Student Life and the Dean of Students at Azusa Pacific. He was inducted into the NAIA Track and Field Hall of Fame in 1997, the Mount Sac Relays Hall of Fame 1 year later, and tonight he is honored with induction into the USTFCCCA Hall of Fame. Please welcome Terry Franson.
Wow, I'm humbled and honored to be selected in the class of 2016, and I don't take this lightly at all. It's such a blessing to have so many good friends here and fellow coaches. Before I go one step further, I just want to say, Sam, you and your team are phenomenal. I have never been to an event at this level of excellence. So can we give them a big hand? Well, I stand up here as a member of a village, and a lot of my village people are over here to my left. It takes a village to get to a point like this. I want to just tell you, my mom and dad were children of the Depression. Dad, a World War II vet. He and Mom worked tirelessly for all three of his children to strive for their dreams. My sister Diane, my brother Mike, myself. Then I had a high school coach who I watched when I was a young football player and track athlete. I watched him not so much of what he did on the field, but what he did off the field. I watched him in between classes wheeling handicapped kids into their classroom. I watched him talk to all students the same, whether it was somebody on his team or not. And at about 16 years old, I said, I want to be like Coach Gaganin. Went away to Cal State University Chico. That's where I found my faith, through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's the foundation I stand upon now in Christ. Honored and blessed to say that to you. Had a coach there by the name of Larry Burleson. Some of you remember the name. He was a rascal. But he gave me an opportunity to be a graduate assistant, which then solidified my opportunity to be a high school coach. I taught special education in a little town, Willows, about 100 miles north of Sacramento. And that's where I taught JV football and coached women's track and field. And that's where I realized for the first time what it really meant to be called coach. And so often, especially as young coaches, we're always looking for the next opportunity. But it was there that I realized the big time is right where you're at. The big time is right where you're at. Then I had an opportunity to go to this place down in Los Angeles called Azusa Pacific College. The day I was hired, my wife's over here to my left. If you've ever been to our school, you know, we're right next to the mountains. It was so smoggy, I didn't know there were mountains behind the school. That was in 1978. We had worse facilities than what I had at my high school. We took half of our salary, went down to Los Angeles, trained on a track where there were coyotes, tarantulas, rattlesnakes, all kinds of things. But that's where it all started. That's where the vision started. Then along came those two brothers, the Barnetts. Both played football in high school. I was coaching football as well. You did everything back then. I was watching them throw the football back and forth, 65 yards, 70 yards, 75 yards. And I looked at the younger one, I thought, I'm going to put a javelin in his hand. If you didn't know the story of Mike, he was in the Barcelona Olympics as a javelin thrower, multiple times the United States champion. His brother Doug played in the NFL. They were rascals. We had some transformative experiences on the team, but they set the bar for excellence. Then along comes this blue letter, airmail letter from Africa. I was a young coach, been in the game about 3 years as a head coach. Open it up, and I'm reading it, and it's about this guy by the name of Innocent Egbunike. 400-meter runner, and he had run in the Moscow Olympics at 17. I'm thinking, well, why in the world is he sending me the letter? He's not legit. And then I read further, and his mom told him that if you go to the United States, you have to go to a Christian school. So I thought, okay, let me research, and I found out it was for true. It was for real. He's sitting right over there, ran in 4 Olympics from Moscow on through, won the first medal for Nigeria, the first medal for Azusa Pacific. And he led us to the guy sitting right next to him, who you saw up here, the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye. And if you know the story of Christian, we're in the 84 games. He was supposed to be on the roster for Nigeria. For political reasons, he was left off. He sat with my wife, Nancy, and I in the stands in the Los Angeles Coliseum, watching Innocent run the 400, watching the discus be contested, where he knew he would have medaled, maybe won a gold, and he began to cry. The next week, he came into my office and he said, "Coach, I want to play football." I said, "Christian, you're a soccer and a track guy. You don't know how to play football." He goes, "I want to play football." I said, "Why?" "I think I can make a living." Well, you know, the rest was history, all pro in the NFL and so on and so forth. And now he started the California Sports Hall of Fame, which is a marvelous organization, does tons of charitable work. And then along came this other guy by the name of Dave Johnson from Corvallis, Oregon, and he's bobbing his head back and forth there. He was a rascal too. I mean, these guys, I got a little PTSD. These guys pushed me to the limit. He came here and transformed life. We went to Barcelona together, and for our school, we had 7 athletes in Barcelona. Our president is right over here, Richard Felix, back in that time. 7 athletes, we came back with 5 Olympic medals. Now, Dave, if you know his story, Dan and Dave, the whole Reebok campaign, Dan didn't know height in the vault, so he didn't make the team. Dave actually broke his foot in the Olympic trials. For 6 weeks, he did not run. We just trained him in the pool. We got to the Olympics first day of the decathlon. He ran 1 lap and went in there and competed as tough as anybody I've ever seen in 10 different events and came back with a bronze. And I've got Jack and Jennifer here. All these people have come out from the West, and I thank you so much. Jack was captain of the team, met Jennifer on our team. Got 4 children now. He's a vice principal at a local high school. So proud of Jack. And it's so awesome, and I know all of us feel the same way, to have them part of our family. And I was talking to Coach right over here. He said, "I'm not all about the technique, I'm about coaching people." And I feel the same way. You know, Ann Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher, was quoted as saying that the greatest service that anyone can do is to help another reach their own true potential. And that's what we have here in the room. I got Mike Maynard over at the table. He came as a wayward hammer thrower. One of the great stories about Mike is our hammer area was not big enough for him. He threw about 230 or 40. And one particular day, I was up there coaching him. It went over a hill, and we heard this big, huge bang. I had no idea what it was, but he hit broadside a VW bus. And it just so happened it was midday, and there was this guy and girl on the bus. Okay, you get where I'm going with this. They came running out and thought it was the Third World War. But Mike and Dee are here, and I'm so proud of you, Mike, as the director of track and field at UCLA now. But the guy I want to focus on right here is Kevin Reed. And some of you know Kevin as Brian Clay's gold medal coach in the decathlon in Beijing. The reason I'm up here is really Kevin. He was behind the scenes doing all of this. Kevin's about as humble a guy as you could ever imagine. And so when I received this award, Kevin, your handprints are all over, and I thank you for everything that you've done. And again, Richard Felix and his wife are here. He was our president through the 90s. Our current president was the assistant track coach, so I had it going. You know, when you get the president's being in your track deal, that was a pretty good thing. And Dave Bixby, and my boss is here as well. But at the core of my village is my family. And Coach and I were talking over here. Coach, you've been married 47 years? 47 years. Nancy and I have been married 41. And our home has always been open to all of my fellow knuckleheads out there from day one. And my daughters, I have 3 daughters, Becky, Molly, and Kara. And Becky is here with her husband, Ryan, and my 2 grandchildren, Ben and Lucy. My daughters were raised in a very diverse, multicultural environment, and the holidays were together. I know it's probably an NC2A violation or something, but we did it anyway, so whatever. I mean, is that not crazy or what? But yeah, I get it. My daughters drove the golf cart. They worked the snack bars with my wife. They went on the bus with us. I drove the bus to track meets. I was a head men's coach, head women's coach. I'd drive from Azusa to Santa Barbara with white knuckling the whole way in this bus with my team. Had a couple interesting things happen, a fist fight in the bus one time right before a championship meet. All those things that we all have experienced. But I want to leave with this one note. Most of you are familiar with Gallup and the research that they do. And the impact that is in this room, the power that is in this room is phenomenal exponentially. It goes out thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions. Gallup recently did a survey 2 years ago in October of 30,000 brand new college grads. The results of the survey indicated that 80% of the recent alums said that they wish they had had a mentor when they were in college. What does that tell you about this generation? They're looking for you to have sacred encounters with them, whether it's on the track, whether it's after practice, whether it's in your home. They want to unpack. They want somebody to listen. They want a place where it's okay not to be okay. And I say that to you because coaches in here, you're handing the baton to those young women and men that you're blessed was to have on your team, hoping that they can do some things in the future, that we're not sitting in a divided America like we are today, throwing stones at each other. Athletics and coaching is not about that. It's about unifying across all the areas that divide. And I speak selfishly to you because I got Ben and Lucy over here and a little grandson by the name of Cal and a granddaughter coming. You'll be passing off to them. You'll be passing off to them. Never take for granted the sacred encounters that you have. Never take for granted the need that young people are crying out in that 18 to 22, 24-year-old for somebody to walk alongside of them, whether they run 38.2 in the 100 meters or whether they're just learning to throw the javelin. They all have a story. They want to be heard. They don't need to be fixed. They want to be walked alongside of. God bless you and thank you for this amazing honor.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, head coach of men's track and field at Azusa Pacific University, Kevin Reed.
From retirement gold watch to Hall of Fame honors, no waiting. When Pat Healy retired following the 2016 outdoor track and field season, ending an illustrious 40-year coaching career, it didn't take long for his peers to recognize him as one of the greatest coaches in college history. Healy is now part of a very exclusive fraternity that went directly from coaching to the prestigious Coaches Hall of Fame. He started his career on the high school level at Dallas High in Oregon before stepping up to the college ranks in 1983 as an assistant with his alma mater, Western Oregon University. After 3 years in Monmouth, Healy jumped to Southern Oregon State and eventually made his way to UW La Crosse in 1991, where he would remain until he stepped down this past spring. Healy started as the head coach of the UW La Crosse women's cross country team in 1991 and assumed control of the women's track and field program the next year. While Healy's cross country teams were successful in their own right with 2 top 4 finishes at the NCAAs, it's what his teams accomplished on the track, in the field, that made UW La Crosse a national mainstay on the Division III level. From 1992 to 2014, the Eagles finished in the top 4 21 times between the D3 indoor and outdoor track and field championships, including 5 runner-up finishes indoor and 2 others outdoor. UW La Crosse, better yet Healy, finally reached the top of the podium in 2015. The Eagles sweeping the indoor and outdoor titles, with Healy earning National Indoor and Outdoor Coach of the Year accolades. In his final year at La Crosse, Healy's teams took 6th indoors and 4th outdoors, adding yet another top 4 finish to an already staggering total. All told, the Eagles were top 10 in 41 of 50 NCAA championship meets. It is hard to envision our athletic program without Pat at the helm of the women's track and field program, UW La Crosse Athletic Director Kim Blum said when Healy announced his retirement. Pat has led our team for 25 years, an unprecedented era of success. That success is why we are pleased tonight to welcome Pat Healy to the Hall of Fame.
Hey everybody. I'd like to start out obviously thanking the Hall of Fame committee and the association for the honor that you have bestowed on me. I also want to give a little shout out to Christina for all the emails and the phone calls that she sent to me. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have been organized enough to get here. So thank you, Christina. You know, it's been great over the years watching this organization continue to grow and become more viable every year. Believe it or not, I remember the very first convention that we had. And in reality, it really wasn't a convention. It was more like a meeting because we hadn't even started the association yet. If I remember right, there were less than 100 coaches there, but we actually got a few things accomplished, and we were kind of on our way as far as this association is concerned. And a few bumps in the road here and there, and trial and error and stuff, and look where we are today. This is pretty fabulous. Probably the next thing that I really need to say is that I am completely humbled to share this stage with my fellow inductees and all the inductees that came before us and the many, many that will come after us. A shout out to all the men and women that I have met over the years as coaches, and many of you I consider some of my best friends. I'd like to actually thank two of the youngest coaches, or not youngest, but two of the best young coaches around who honored me tonight by sitting at my table. That's Carrie Nethery, Cluckholm, I'm sorry, Carrie, and Katie Wagner. I'd like to thank my family for being here. We have them all here, which is great. My wonderful wife, Melanie, Caitlin, Allison, Carson, and our newest member, Caitlin's husband, Tyson. As all of you coaches know, there is no way that you can do the things that we do without the love and support of your family, and I've certainly had that over the years. I thought about this not too long ago, that if I look at all the years that I competed and all the years that I have coached, it comes to 50. And what's great about that is in 50 years, and those of you that have been coaching for a long time or been involved in track and field, think of all the exciting and great things that we have seen over the years. All the events, the performances and things, you know, all the stuff that just makes this sport so exciting. I think most of you would probably totally agree with me that one of the really cool things is all those rules the NCAA makes up. You know, I was also thinking that there's been over the years, and those of you that have been around a long time know this, there have been events that were probably did not advance our sport that much, except maybe to come up with a new rule. Those of you that have been around a long time, you know, if you're as old as dirt like me, you probably remember the somersault long jump. And it was a crazy event, but it was really kind of fun to watch. The last 25 years of my coaching career, I've been in Division III. And I moved from Oregon to Wisconsin. And the first thing that I noticed was a correlation in Division III and coaching track and field in Wisconsin. And the first one was that there are hardworking, dedicated coaches and athletes. And the second one is the crazy dude that in March is standing on the track in a snowstorm with 4 stopwatches and so many layers of clothes that they walk like a penguin. But, well, I'm going to tell you something. I have a feeling when I started talking about correlation between Wisconsin and Division III, you guys probably thought I was going to talk about drinking beer. And we do that a little bit too, there's no doubt about it. I would like to talk a little bit about what I believe is the great experience in Division III. And that is the ability to work with athletes who just absolutely want to be on the track or in the field and stuff. Athletes that are willing to do anything that you ask them, they're willing to work hard, and it's gratifying to watch the progress that they make. As many of you know, there's nothing actually more exciting than watching a freshman grow from a young, nervous athlete into a strong, confident athlete. Watching them mature, succeed, graduate, and become a huge part of society is something that I will always cherish. I had a reporter ask me what I felt my impact had been during my coaching tenure, and 2 things came to mind. The first was all the women and some men that I had the privilege to mentor into coaching, many of which are coaching today. 6 are actually head coaches at the college level at the moment, and I'm proud to say all 6 of them are here tonight. And the second thing that I thought of was the small impact that I hope that I had on at least a few of the athletes that I've had the honor to work with over the years. And I don't think that any coach can really ask for anything more than that, to have an impact on not only an athletic ability of an athlete, but also the type of person that they end up becoming. Another thing that's amazed me over the years is the progress that girls and women's sport in track and field, especially, and cross country, that we have made. For those of you who remember our sport, or any sport for that matter, before 1972 and Title IX, you can remember that at the high school level, there were usually 6, 7, sometimes 8 boys sports, and maybe 2 or 3 girls sports. And at the college level, at most colleges before 72, there wasn't women's track and cross country. So I think those of us that have had the privilege to work with women track and field athletes over the years owe a great debt of gratitude to all the women and some men that worked hard to help this women's track become more equitable and become a viable sport in our society today. As Terry actually said, and I'm just going to kind of say that I hope that all of you coaches out there do a fabulous job of continuing to help our sport grow and working with the athletes and helping them become better people and become the type of people that you would love to see go into coaching or just hang out, you know. So I think that we all just need to work harder to keep the sport going. The last thing I'd like to say is for all the women coaches in the audience, or women who are planning on being coaches, I challenge you to recruit more women into track and field coaching. And I promise you that one of these days there will be many more women on this stage right here. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and for giving me probably the biggest honor that I've ever had. Thank you.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, head coach of women's track and field at UW La Crosse, Coach Katie Wagner.
Chomp chomp. Life cannot get much better if you are Mike Holloway. Back in June, he won his 6th national title as head coach of the Florida Gators. And now he joins an exclusive list of coaches enshrined in the Coaches Hall of Fame while still active. Still got the stopwatch in hand. The 2016 outdoor title adds to an already lengthy list of accomplishments for the 58-year-old coach with 33 years of experience. One of the most notable accolades for Holloway came back in 2010 when he became the first African-American head coach to lead an NCAA Division I track and field program to a national championship. His Gators won the indoor crown by 13 points over joint runner-ups, Oregon and Texas A&M. Florida went on to win another and another 3 consecutive indoor titles and also added the outdoor trophy to its haul in 2012. Here's another remarkable fact about Holloway. No matter what he's done in his career, he has always stayed true to Gainesville. That coaching career started in 1983, nowhere else but at Gainesville High School. 3 years later, he began his first stint at the University of Florida as a graduate assistant with the women's track and field team. That position he held until 1987. From there, he moved to Buckholz High School, a grand total of 4 miles down the road from the Florida main campus. Holloway shaped the Bobcats into a dynasty. They won 8 Florida High School Athletic Association state titles in 10 years. After that most dominant decade, Holloway returned to the Gators in 1996 as an assistant coach to the men's program, and he hasn't left the University of Florida since. After 4 years as an assistant and 3 more as the associate head coach, Holloway finally took over as the head man in 2003. Very few teams have been as successful as the Gators over the past 13 years. Florida's men, 6 NCAA team titles. They've earned 373 All-American honors, while the women added 230 more. The Gator men also finished second or better at 18 NCAA meets. In addition, 3 of the athletes have been finalists here for the Bowerman, including 2015 winner Marquise Dendy. So much accomplished and still coaching, so much still ahead. Mike Holloway, USTFCCCA Hall of Fame Class of 2016.
Thank you very much. First, a couple of house cleaning items. I need to go through my wife's photos and destroy some things that should have never made it to that screen. And I need to work on somebody's math. I celebrated my 57th birthday back in October. I had me checking my driver's license and making sure my mom gave me my right birth certificate there for a second. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys being here. And I want to do as I do every day before I do anything in my life, and I want to thank God for being the head of my life. For waking me every morning, putting me to sleep at night, and allowing me to do all the wonderful things that I do. I want to thank my parents for raising me to be my own man. I want to thank my wife, Angela, for being my rock and always being by my side. I want to thank my children and my grandchildren for being my joy and my inspiration and giving me a reason to get up and work hard every day so I can continue to spoil them. And I jokingly tell them I'm changing my name to Daddy Can I Have. And I want to thank the USTFCCCA and the Hall of Fame Committee for believing I am worthy of this incredible honor. As many of you know, I'm a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And one of our founders, Dr. Ernest Just, is quoted as saying, "Our fraternity was founded with a dream to help and uplift." And I stand here tonight and I tell you that my career, too, is based on those same principles, to help and uplift. As a little boy, I was often asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was always, I want to be a lawyer. And the response I got 99% of the time, well, that's good because you're gonna make a lot of money. But it wasn't about the money for me. See, I wanted to help. And I wanted to help the many friends and family and other loved ones I saw that were in trouble, and I really believed that as a lawyer, I could keep them out of trouble and keep them out of jail. And speaking of help, tonight is about the many people who have helped me. The athletes, coaches, family, and friends. Many of you have texted and emailed and sent me messages this week. It's been absolutely overwhelming. And all of you have touched my life in so many ways and helped me to become and grow into the man that I am today. Now, I don't have time to name all of them, but I would like to thank a very few special people. I'd like to thank Jeremy Foley and Doug Brown for giving me the opportunity to work at the University of Florida. I'd like to thank my staff, who are all here tonight, for trusting and believing in me, even in those moments you guys think I'm a little insane. I really appreciate that. I want to thank my program coordinator, Mrs. Therese LeGros, my track wife, for keeping me sane and organized at all times. I'd like to thank my wife, Angela, for standing beside me, for holding me up so I won't fall, and for believing in my dreams. I want to thank my Aunt Liz, who watched me race my friends in the streets of Columbus, Ohio, and thought I would like track. So she decided she was going to take me to my first track meet. So we walk in the gate, and I see this guy standing there with this long pole, and he comes flying down this runway, and he plants this pole on the ground. He goes vaulting up in the air, and he comes down on this bar between his legs. I turn to mine, and I go, I don't think I want to do track and field. Well, she quickly explained to me that that wasn't what track and field was all about, and by the end of the meet, I was hooked. To Ed Stone, my high school coach, my friend, my mentor, my father. Ed dragged me kicking and screaming into adulthood. He dropped me off and demanded I grow up and be a man. And Ed always seems to show up just when I need him most, whether it be by text message, phone call, emails, or sometimes just popping up in the middle of the practices or track meets, and especially the championships meets when I need him the most. To Brooks Johnson, the Godfather, who besides some very colorful words and phrases he's taught me over the years, it's taught me to constantly challenge myself and all those around me, and to never be afraid to think outside the box. To my first coach, my first love, my mother, who's always challenged me to do my best and then do better. As a teenager, I remember I got this Sports Illustrated, and it was an article in there about two local Columbus basketball players, Ed Ratcliffe and Dwight Lamar, who were doing great things at a little small college down in Louisiana. And I carried that book around with me for days. I read that article over and over again. And finally, after a few days, my mother walked up to me, she took the book out of my hand, and she looked me in the eye, and she said, I want you to work hard and make something of yourself so I can read about you in a magazine someday. Mom, I think we made it. And finally, if I could go back and talk to that little boy, I would tell him, don't just help, help more. Because the more you help, the more you bless others. And the more you bless others, the more God blesses you. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, Mouse's high school coach and mentor, Ed Stone.
In 1965, a young freshman sprinter named Bob Kitchens entered the world of collegiate track and field as a Texas Tech walk-on. When he retired nearly 45 years later, he walked off as one of the sports coaching icons. Between head coaching tenures at UTEP, Mississippi State, and West Texas A&M, Kitchens left a legacy that combined success at both the individual and team levels. His athletes totaled 26 NCAA national titles, 265 All-American honors, with his teams collecting 18 conference titles, and half a dozen top 5 finishes at the NCAA championship meets. The root of Kinchin's success came in the sprint events, as he was able to draw on his experience as a walk-on turned scholarship sprinter to mentor some of the fastest men and women the world has ever known, such as stars Lorenzo Daniel and Obadele Thompson, clocking times fast enough that their names still echo on the world stage. Still other athletes, such as Blessing Okabari, continue to make name for themselves internationally. After an 11-year tenure at the helm of West Texas A&M's program, including the women's team he started in 1978, Kitchens took over the job as the head men's track and field coach at Mississippi State in 1979. It was in Starkville where he molded Daniel into a sensation. Under Kitchens' guidance, Daniel set a world junior record of 20.07 seconds as a freshman in 1985, and 3 years later, lowered the collegiate record twice, ultimately to 19.87. The first record would stand for nearly 2 decades until a young Jamaican named Usain Bolt topped it. And Daniel's collegiate record remained the standard until 2002, when another future Olympic gold medalist, this time Justin Gatlin, edged it out by 1/100th of a second. Then at UTEP, Kitchens built Thompson and later Okabare into world-class sprinters. Thompson set a world all-time best at 55 meters in 1996 of 5.99 seconds that still stands today. That same year, he ran a windy 9.69 over 100 meters, which stood as the all-conditions fastest time in world history for 12 years. Finally, Okabari shined in 2010, Kitchens' final season as head coach. The Bowerman finalist won 4 NCAA titles and boasts a bronze medal from the 2008 Beijing Olympics. From competing to coaching, Bob Kitchens sprints his way into the USTFCCCA Hall of Fame.
Thank you, and good evening. I want to congratulate my fellow honorees first for the great achievements that have gotten them here tonight and allowed us to be part of this class of 2016. I want to thank the United States Track and Field Coaches Association for giving me this incredible honor, which I never expected in my lifetime. I want to thank the assistant coaches that I've had at the 3 universities, West Texas, Mississippi State, and University of Texas El Paso, for all the help they gave me and being able to achieve far more than I ever thought possible in my lifetime. I want to thank my administrators that helped me and gave me a job to be their head track coach and allowed me to do that job. And I want to thank the great athletes that I had an opportunity to work with, like Lorenzo Daniel and Olapati Adenikan and Obadele Thompson, who made me look like I knew what I was doing as a head track coach. They allowed me to touch their lives, and in turn, they touched mine in so many ways. And I want to thank a man that's no longer here on this earth, my head track coach at Texas Tech University, J.B. Hilliard, gave me an opportunity to be as a student assistant and in turn helped me get my first head coaching job at West Texas. He called me in his office one day and he said, "Bob, they're starting a track program at West Texas State." He said, "I want you to go up there and interview for this job if you're interested." I said, "Well, sure, I'm interested." So I hopped in my car the next day and put my suit and tie on, hopped in my car, and I'm driving to Canyon, Texas. It's about an hour and a half drive, and all the way up there I'm thinking, how am I going to get those people to hire me? I'm 23 years old, have no experience. And all the way up there, they're thinking, how are we going to get this guy to take this job? No athletes, no scholarships, no track, teach 6 activity classes in the physical education department, and we're going to pay him $300 a month. Well, it was never about money. It was about opportunity. And that's what I was looking for, was opportunity. And lastly, and most important, I want to recognize my family. that are here tonight to share in this great moment in my life. My 4 beautiful daughters, Christy and Janet and Candace and Morgany, and their husbands, and my beloved sister and brother-in-law. I'm so thankful they're here tonight. For 42 years, God gave me the opportunity to do a job that I loved to do. I went to bed every night thinking, how am I going to improve this guy tomorrow? How am I going to get our team better tomorrow? And every morning I got up excited to go to work and see what we could accomplish that day. It's been an incredible journey for a little boy from a small town in the Texas Panhandle, Silverton, Texas, to be here tonight to stand in front of my peers and think that I'm being included in a group of men and women that have excelled in the sport of track and field. Bill Withers, a famous songwriter and singer, once said, everybody in this lifetime is trying to get to that place called wonderful. But along the way, before you get to wonderful, you have to pass through a place called all right. I've been to all right. And tonight, I'm at that place called wonderful. Thank you.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, head coach of UTEP Track and Field, Mika Larkinson.
Villanova's tradition of excellence in the middle distance and distance events is storied and proud. And few coaches in the school's history have had a more significant impact on that story than Marty Stern. Leading the Wildcats women's program from 1984 through 1994, he oversaw an era of Nova distance running no program, men's or women's, can yet match. Before he became Nova's Uncle Marty, Stern led a number of successful high school teams in Pennsylvania, with stops at St. James High School, Malvern High School, and Central Bucks High School in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And as an athlete before that, he was a decorated runner at Westchester University and is a member of the school's Hall of Fame. Stern finally broke into the college ranks in 1982 at Delaware Valley College, and 2 years later joined Charlie Jenkins' staff at Villanova. He was a volunteer assistant coach. When the decision was made for Jenkins to focus exclusively on coaching the men's program in 1984, that opened the door for Stern to become the women's head coach. It did not take long for those women to become a force on the national stage. His 4x800 meter relay team won the NCAA indoor title in 1985, kicking off a streak of track success that produced 19 national event titles over the next decade. With the exception of 1986, the Wildcat women brought home at least one national title each year from 85 through 94. Behind a pair of indoor national titles in 1987, 4x800 meter relay team, and Vicki Huber at 3,000 meters, Stern's women finished third overall, setting in motion a run of 8 consecutive top 10 finishes at the NCAA Indoor Championships. His team's success on the track might only be overshadowed by its prowess on the turf. The Wildcats won an unprecedented 5 consecutive cross-country titles and had 5 consecutive individual champs from 1989 to 1993. No other women's squad has won more than 3 in a row, and no men's team has managed better than 4. By the time he retired, his coaching honor roll included 145 All-Americans, 21 individual NCAA champions, 12 collegiate record holders, 22 Big East titles, 21 Penn Relay Championship titles, 12 world records, 8 American records, 13 Olympians, and 4 world champions, all from one coach. When told of his induction, he said, quote, "Ever since I was younger and I participated in sports, I knew I'd be a coach. And to be honored by my peers and friends, because if they're coaches, they're all my friends, means the world to me." Tonight, Marty Stern's friends and fellow coaches welcome him to the USTFCCCA Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, everyone. Great speeches, great talks, good stuff, really good. Fun to listen to you. I want to thank Sharon Stern, my wife, and she had to follow me all the way through most of this career, and she was very loyal. She did a lot of things. I remember one time she had to drive from our house all the way to wherever planes from Ireland come in, and pick up Sonia O'Sullivan, a silver medalist in the Olympic Games and three-time world champion. She did things like that, but she supported me. I came home many times. Every day a coach has things happen that make you feel bad, but then there's things happen that also make you feel good. And she helped me through both. She made sure I wasn't too cocky, and she made sure that I could handle the bad part. My mother, Eleanor Sladko Stern, 50-yard dash champion of Philadelphia. Born in the Ukraine, and she and her family had to escape, and one way she got out, we know how. And she was always a sports fan, and so was my father, who went to Penn, where the Penn relays are. They were sports-minded people and good religious people. I'd like to thank God for taking me through all the good and the bad, and what was said earlier, you got to go through that bad place before you get to the good place. Well, I kind of tripled that. Went to the bad place, then the good place, then the bad place, then the good place. And right now, there's nothing better than where I am today. I'd like to thank Sam Seams, an old friend of mine, and he's here, and look at the job that he has done. I know, I was there when they started this, and look what he's done. Congratulations and thanks from an old Jewish kid from West Philadelphia. Gary Wilson, he's a guy originally from New York, an old farmer who came here tonight to help honor me, and an old friend and former retired head coach at Minnesota. The whole thing with having God-based life is you're not supposed to worry. Well, I worry every day, but I think I worry a little less now. I've had good assistant coaches over the years. A couple of them are here tonight, and you only get 6 minutes. But I'll mention Pan Fanaritis, who's here from Denison University and one time at Villanova. We had every day on the way to Villanova and on the way home, I prayed for every kid on my team, men and women, about 40, 50 kids. And on the way home, I went through each one. I prayed for them, and then I would say, what kind of relationship did we have today? What kind of relationship did I have with Michelle Bennett today? And then I just talked to myself and to God about that relationship. If there was a problem, then I would call the athlete on the phone right as soon as I walked in the door. which like really made my wife happy. You're away all day and you come home and you go on the phone. No cell phones back then. We, as a team at Villanova, you saw a picture up there. You might have noticed we're all praying. When I started coaching, my first meet in Claymont, Delaware, Archmere Academy, a small Catholic school for boys, prep school. That was my first job. And we get together before the meet. And you would see on TV, coaches, especially basketball coaches, they put their hands together, and they must be saying something. So I figured, let me put them together and we'll see what happens. All of a sudden, they started praying these like Catholic prayers. Here I'm a little Jewish guy from West Philadelphia, and we've been praying ever since. There's no meet that we have where we didn't pray before and after, win or lose. And because of that, there weren't many losses. And the losses turned into wins. We learned our lessons. I love coaches. I love the profession of coaching. It's the only thing I ever wanted to be. I didn't want to be anything except a coach. And that's why I went to little old Westchester Teachers College. They have a nicer, more, university name, but they were Westchester Teachers College in Pennsylvania, and they taught us how to coach, and they did a great job of doing it with not only me, but many others. I think it's just the greatest occupation that you could have. When you're coaching high school, you have kids who get killed in automobile accidents. You have kids whose parents died. You have kids whose parents are in a war and get killed. You have kids that have problems every day. And when you finally get to college, you kind of know what to do. You learn from those problems. And I just want to thank my family, all my daughters and granddaughters and sons. I want to thank them for getting me through all of this. And I am so grateful to everyone that crossed my path. I know there's a lot of names I didn't mention, but we have a 6-minute limit, which I probably exceeded. And God bless every one of you, and God bless anyone who's a coach. It's a tough job, but what do? You don't do anything. You just play all day long. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, head coach of Villanova women's track and field and cross country, Gina Procaccio, and 2015 Hall of Fame inductee, Gary Wilson.
Bubba Thornton has worn many different hats in sports, and at least a couple of different helmets throughout his adult life. Track and field athlete, standout college football player, professional football player, football coach, athletic director, and track and field coach. Those are all titles he's held at some point over the past half-century. The common thread between each and every one is Thornton's unwavering commitment to excellence. Following a brief professional football career as a wide receiver for the NFL's Buffalo Bills and with Jacksonville of the World Football League, it was coaching track and field where Thornton's career eventually flourished. 12 years after hanging up the football cleats, Thornton made his way back to his alma mater, TCU, where he took over as head track and field coach in 1982. That started a remarkable 31-year career that saw the Texas native lead the Horned Frogs and eventually the UT Longhorns to greatness. Between his days in Fort Worth and Austin, he coached his athletes to 35 NCAA titles, more than 300 All-American honors, and 161 conference championships. Many of those athletes, including international standouts Leo Manzano, Trey Hardy, Raymond Stewart, Mark Boswell, and Marquise Goodwin, went on to compete at the Olympics, some multiple times. He personally oversaw Manzano and Hardy at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing as head men's track and field coach for Team USA. Perhaps the most lasting legacy of Thornton coached athletes, at least on the collegiate level, came in 1989. That's when his quartet of Horned Frog sprinters covered 400 meters at altitude in a time of 38.23 seconds on a track in Provo, Utah. That collegiate record still stands nearly 3 decades later, despite incredible and repeated attempts by relay teams from Florida, LSU, and others trying to take it down.
TCU with a time of 38.23, a new collegiate record.
Thornton coached another 24 years after that record was set, and in his final season, fittingly, his Texas Longhorns sent him out with a conference championship during the indoor season. One of 6, including 4 straight from 2006 to 2009. A remarkable career, a remarkable man. Bubba Thornton, USTFCCCA Hall of Fame class of 2016.
Wow. I'll try to make this as quick as the guys ran the 4x1 back in the day. First, I'd like to introduce my wife, Kay, who we went together since sophomores in high school. She tricked me, and I gave her a life sentence. And my 2 daughters, Courtney and Piper, my son-in-law, Brandon, who is really the greatest Aggie that ever was. He was the quarterback for A&M when they won their only Big 12 football championship. And my 2 grandchildren, Sophie and Sam, and the guy who led off the relay, Horatio Porter. Again, they won it in 89 and 91, and been a great friend, and have just can't tell you how much I appreciate all the people that's ever wore the uniform for me. And so get a platform, you want to thank people. And while I was at TCU, there was a guy named Gary Peacock that taught school all day, and then he would come and coach with me at TCU. We had 9 scholarships. You could have 14 then. We didn't have a track, but I was in heaven, and he was in heaven, and our first big recruit was a kid named James Richards. And in '83, with those 9 guys and James Richard, and we tricked some football players to come out, like Philip Epps and Keith Burnett. They won their first 4x4 national championship, and as a team, TCU, who didn't have a track, finished 12th. And a lot of that was Gary Peacock. I kind of drove the bus. And later, Ken Garland came and worked with me at TCU. He was a distance coach, later became the head coach at North Texas, had great distance program there. Later, a gentleman named John McKenzie, who also was a great coach, and we had a lot of fun. We had so much fun that DeLoss thought I was a good fit at Texas. And so he brought me in '95. And while I was there, if I'd learned anything, I'd learned you got to have good people around you. So Dan Paff, Baker, I can still remember Baker at that first Southwest Conference. It was the last Southwest Conference meet in Lubbock, Texas. It was 107 degrees, and I'm telling you, he is wringing those 10 and 5 guys out. And we won the last big Southwest Conference championship, and it was so much fun. And then Baker went on to become a head coach and had another coach come in named Sean Flanagan, and he elevated the program in the distance program. And then Sean got a head job. at Corpus Christi A&M. And then you get lucky. And I look out here at all of you people, and you're climbing, and you want that opportunity. Don't ever give up on yourself about trying to get that opportunity. I hired a guy that had never coached in college. He was a pain in my rear. He was 24 hours a day. Hey, let's talk. Well, he convinced me that I needed this guy, and it was Jason Vigilante. World record, DMR. 4 Texas kids. Leo Manzano, anchored. You can have a great cross-country team in Austin, Texas, where it's 100 degrees if you got the right coach. Jason went on to Virginia, and that was in 2008, and then I convinced John Hayes to come in, and there was some good athletes there. And in track and field, you guys all know about loyalty, but he did an incredible job with those guys. And now he's the head coach at Wake Forest. And so, great coaches, love them. And then one of my all-time favorites, my puppy, is Mario. And I can still see him. It could be 80 degrees out there, and he had came down from Minnesota. He would have 4 jackets on and stuff around his neck. He thought it was cold. And but he was tireless in his coaching abilities, and we had great athletes from Manson to Goodwin to Ryan Krauser. I mean, how do you get a guy out of Oregon to come to Texas? We got engineering. But anyway. And then the real meat for me was the trainers. I hope all of you in your lives are as fortunate to have an Albert, an Adrian, a Mary, a Candace, a Tamara. Unbelievable. And then they asked me, well, what do you do, Bubba? I said, I don't do anything. I just do what I want to do. I said, I don't look at grade reports, for sure. And then I think about Jack Hasselbrock at TCU and Kathy James and Leroy Sutherland. And now we have an academic department that's got more people in it that's in this room. That's why I was successful. It was a lot of fun, always a lot of fun. And there's been some really great things said up here tonight. And if I could leave you with just this one thing, I've always felt there were 2 kinds of coaches. One coach coaches performance. They're good coaches. I wanted to be a coach who coached people who had great performances, but then could be people. It wasn't going to be about really how far they jumped or how far they threw something or how fast they ran. That was just going to be a part of what they were. So, 31 years as a head coach, seen the journey, drove the van, raised money, sold hot dogs, been blessed. And as I hear these men, if you ever would see me on campus at the university, you'd say, Bubba, what's going on? I'd say, it's just another day in paradise. And I meant it from my heart. Thank you and for being here with us tonight. Thank you.
Presenting the Hall of Fame Award, head coach of track and field and cross country at the University of Kentucky, Edric Flo Royale. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hall of Fame class of 2016.
Please stand. Please stand and let's give them one more big round. This class, like all class, make you proud to be a coach. I think any young person here today should be leaving here inspired to follow in the footsteps of giants. Be sure tomorrow, I know that a lot of people are going to have a good time tonight, and so be sure tomorrow to wake up in time to make it to your meetings tomorrow, coaches. This has been a wonderful night. I think it's a great celebration of this class, and we appreciate your being here tonight to celebrate with us. Thank you and have a good night.